Hello. I can see we've got a few people joining so far. Thank you. Hopefully, just kind of seen our latest panel. I'll be joined here on the breakout session with Blake from Attentive shortly. Oh, hello.
Hey, Amber, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you doing?
Good, nice to see you.
Yeah, you too. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute. How are things?
Yeah, good, thank you. Just, busy Jan. Been amazing to be involved with Loyalty Connect. Did I see Attentive had a sales kickoff in Miami a couple of days ago?
I just got back into San Diego this morning. Yeah, it's been a coast to coast trip, but it's a good time. It was awesome to see everybody and also just learn about the year ahead. I think we got ambitious plans, and our customers are a huge part of this. So I'm really excited to just plan for the year ahead.
Awesome. I am unbelievably jealous. It is pretty cold here in London at the moment, but sounds great. So obviously just on our panel, there are 3 breakout sessions running right now, so people will be filtering in and out. We've got a couple of people in at the moment, so we'll give a couple more minutes to join, maybe warm up. I think for the people that are here right now, maybe for anyone who doesn't know you, Blake, or doesn't know Attentive that well, what do you do and what problem do you help to solve at Attentive?
Yeah, so Attentive, we're focused really on helping consumers to drive a lot of, revenue through a channel like SMS. Obviously, we drive 20.5% of total online revenue for our merchants. But I would tell you, that's, I think, a story that a lot of people know about SMS. I think what I'm focused on championing in my role and really focused running partner community at Attentive is this idea that SMS is a relationship building channel. And so many things happen from building relationships. Obviously we can drive revenue from that, but we can also build a lot of, repeat loyal shoppers. And so that's a really a fantastic facet of it. And a lot of my focus is, a lot of these speaking engagements, thought leadership, and also really just helping to better tell the narrative of that with SMS. So definitely a little bit passionate, I guess you could say, about SMS, and also just passionate about helping our customers and our partners.
Great. Yeah. I mean, obviously it's been a big old 6 months, year. I mean, a couple of years if we really want to go into it. Obviously last year we had all of the privacy updates, and as with, any marketing tool, but wider e-commerce, we're all kind of battling those changes, having to change things up accordingly. What kind of things are you seeing merchants kind of put into place to overcome these challenges? And just before you answer, hey to everyone in the chat, please send your questions our way. Even Vic's just said in the chat too, turn your cameras on, we don't bite. Feel free to join us, and this is an open conversation. Back to you, Blake.
Yeah, so the question was, what are merchants kind of gearing towards over these past 6-12 months?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I think it's no surprise with a lot of the data and privacy changes that have happened, with the elimination of a lot of how we were using paid ads, and changing that. It's definitely shifted a lot of people's focus towards owned marketing channels like SMS and email. And with SMS specifically, like, we have a great identity capture from day one, and so we're able to understand. Amber, you're on a site and you're looking at shoes, and maybe you browse a specific type of shoe. And so all this data that we're starting to collect and house, brands are starting to think about how we can use that information intently to create better automations and personalize that message better than we've ever done before. But additionally, with SMS specifically, I'll speak to is this idea of zero-party data. And so with things like conversations, we can start to maybe ask you questions. So you were browsing those shoes, but maybe we want to know a little bit more about you and your personality type or your preferences to better personalize even further. So it's this culmination of these two different ideas of like collecting more behavioral data through just interaction, and then also using SMS as a conduit to collect more information about you and your preferences. So we've seen brands have amazing success with just segmenting their customers and then also building out better campaigns and automations. and really driving a lot of revenue, obviously through those efforts as well. So it's been exciting to see. I think we're really starting to look at SMS now as this channel that can do a lot more than it's ever done before.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, I love the way you described it as, this two-way conversation. I think a lot of merchants might traditionally see SMS as, you're giving information and not necessarily as much kind of collecting data that we can obviously be leveraging down the line. Do you have any cool examples that you can think of in terms of how you can collect the data within a text and then use it down the line?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a brand that we work with called Elemis. They're like a British skincare brand, super cool brand. They use and their abandoned cart, a browse abandonment flow. So if I was just browsing the site, didn't add anything to cart, this is a really tricky spot for brands, I think, because they might not know enough intent about what I was looking to do that day. So they send out a two-way automation. And what this question is basically asking is, it's like, hey, we saw you browsing the site. Tell us what your skin type is, for example, because there's a skincare brand. And so they're starting to get a little more deeper into what I might have as a preference. And so rather than just send me an automated message that goes, thanks for stopping by, it's like they're more prescriptive and more consultative in how they're approaching that conversation. And so when they tested this out, they basically, with each response, started to create, I guess, like a kind of concierge skincare kind of experience. And at the end of that conversation, it was like, here's the perfect product for you. And obviously, like, one of the biggest friction points, I think, for the customers, like, I don't want to give data away unless I'm going to get something from it. And so by having that recommendation at the end of the experience, it felt more conversational. And so what we did was we actually saw they ran an A/B test where they were sending that generic no conversation versus this conversation. And it was the conversion rates just skyrocketed when they started having those conversations. So that's a small example. We can do this across a variety of message and use cases. But I think it goes to show that, like, these are the types of experiences that consumers want, because it's giving them ultimately a product that they feel confident in purchasing.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And first of all, again, anyone in the chat, I'd love to know if you are already using SMS, Attentive even, Loyalty Line even. For anyone who might just be getting started with SMS, Blake, maybe they're primarily using email marketing up until now. What do you think priorities, those kind of priority number one flows would be to get started with?
Great question. Yeah, I think it's two things. I think it's the where's SMS going to be placed in your marketing funnel is really important to think about. So are you using SMS as full circle, which I think it absolutely can and should do. So it's post-purchase through retention, or pre-purchase through retention, sorry. But also the most important part about SMS is really list growth, and how you actually grow this list is going to be incredibly, sort of telling of how you're going to have success with the channel. So prioritizing that, if you're running, you should be running email and SMS together. I really believe you should be capturing both on your site when you have someone sign up for. So like with Attentive, for example, we go email first and then they give their phone number. And we see great success with this on conversion rates. And so they're growing both lists in tandem. And so if you're already doing email, start with that and start to build up this SMS list and get that list running and growing. And then really start to actually supplement that with some automations and some campaigns. So it's kind of this crawl, walk, run approach that we think of. And our client strategy team kind of walks our customers through this, really that process of like starting through really being an SMS expert. But other than that, my biggest advice is just get started. I think, really now this is the perfect time to be investing in a channel like SMS and diversifying your marketing channel mix a little bit.
Awesome. So thinking about how email and SMS can be complementing each other.
Yeah, for sure.
We have some questions in the chat. Thanks everyone for your contributions. First question from Anna. How can you personalize the post-purchase journey further via SMS?
It's a great question. I love that. So I'm a marketer at heart. I spent a lot of time being a marketer before I came to Attentive ever. So I love post-purchase. I could talk about it for days, but I think one of the biggest things that I like to think about is within the Attentive Journey Builder, we have a segmentation tool that is so powerful, and we can look at things like zero-party data, what preferences. So Amber liked red shoes, and so we're going to only talk about the color red, or something like that. Or maybe we know that you sell men's and women's products, and so our post-purchase experience is very different for someone who purchased men's products versus women's, or children's versus adults. Those are some surface level ideas, but like also, if you really want to be a little more basic, you could even think about just first-time customer versus a returning customer. Like these are things that they're really easy to set up and start testing. So really using data to your advantage. So that on that first time versus returning, maybe on the first time you have another branch for someone who purchased this specific product versus this product. You can really easily build out a couple branches versus like we've seen, hundreds of branches, and it gets super granular. So I mean, take it for what it's worth, but I think it's really what I recommend on post-purchase experience is to actually use some of these awesome data points that SMS captures to start to think about like, what are those things that you want to send? So if someone buys maybe this phone case, for example, we're just going to talk about that phone case, why it's great. Maybe, like when we're talking about the loyalty program, we're tying that into it as well. These are just all things that like it's creativity in a lot of ways, but it's also just showing that you're listening with some of those data points. And then I think my last thing I would say on post-purchase is like A/B test everything and anything, and use that data to like actually inform your strategy. Like those 2% improvements can be monumental, I think, in continuing to really get folks engaged.
Absolutely. And I think, yeah, just thinking about back to kind of data collection, you have to really strip it back and think about, well, what data is important to me? What data do I want to leverage down the line in, like those post-purchase flows? That's great. We've got a lot of, carry on.
Okay. The other thing I was going to add to, I didn't mention about post-purchase, but is transactional updates. If you don't have those already, I talked about that in the panel, but those are also really important. Those drive revenue in addition to, because you're just naturally getting someone back to the site. So I would just also stress, like really have those in place. They're very easy to set up. Great.
Thank you. We've got, a lot of interest in two-way conversations, which I'm sure you'll be really pleased to hear. Taylor says, tell me a little bit more about your two-way conversations feature and how we can best start utilizing that tool.
Yes, I love that. I would say with our two-way conversation feature, we released this a few months back, and I've been so excited just to see how many marketers are being creative with this product. And so at a high level, what it allows you to do is really start to collect more information about a customer. And then from that information that they're responding back, start to branch out the messages. So I'll use post-purchase as an example, just to kind of tie that question back here again. One great example I've seen is like an onboarding message. So like someone makes that purchase, Amber, you buy the shoes. And then so I'm saying, okay, like, do you want to learn more about how to take care of the shoes? Do you want to learn more about where your order is, the loyalty program? And then based on those responses, we create more branches to basically take them down this journey that they're choosing. It's a very much a choose your own type journey. And so like you're having a conversation, but you're also kind of getting to feel like it's personalized. So that's a great example of how you can start to make it a little more engaging. But if you want to collect more data, for example, like pre-purchase, someone signs up for the SMS program, let's start asking them like kind of that LMS example, like really consultative, like what's your skin type? How often are you cleaning your face? Like these types of questions that you would want to be intentional, like what is the data that you're collecting? But what you can do through these data points is actually enrich a profile property. So if I said I have oily skin, I'm going to create a profile property when they respond that they have oily skin. And now I have a segment that I can create of people who have oily skin. So if I had that segment already created, the second I tell you I have oily skin, you go to that segment that we now have these folks that have oily skin. So you can see really quickly, it's like you're having conversations, you're personalizing the message, you're taking them down this path. But then like when you go to send your campaigns, you have really, really targeted segments that actually fit that criteria. Even further, like you can do even crazy things with like you put a segment in your automation. So like if someone meets that segment, now they're going to trigger another automation. So I kind of went like crawl, walk, run there really fast, but like I think the biggest takeaway I can tell you from these two-way conversations is that we see folks, the average response rate on those is 42% on that first message.
Wow.
I can't tell you another message type that's getting 42% response rate. That to me is really telling that these are a future pillar of how D2C brands communicate with their customers, but also really keeping it fun and engaging.
Great. That's great to hear. We've got another one from Anna. How often is too often for sending SMS between purchases? This is something that actually it comes up quite a lot in our calls when we are telling merchants, to be promoting things like loyalty promotions, loyalty programs, and these additional perks, via SMS. We do often get questioned, but how much is too much? We don't obviously want, a lot of like a high unsubscribe rate, things like that. So yeah, a great one for me as well.
Yeah, how much is too much? That's a good question. I would say it depends on a few factors. The first most important thing I think is think about what you're telling a customer and if you would have that experience as well. So if it's like, I just purchased this phone case and now the first thing I get is, buy another one and you just keep telling me to buy without adding value. And it doesn't make sense maybe to buy a phone case every 2 weeks. Those are the first things that I would say that like, maybe it's not so much about should I send it, it's what should I be sending this customer. So like, that's one thing I would consider. But additionally, like a lot of the behavioral data that we're capturing in SMS allows us to actually send really helpful messages. So transactional updates, you can send those. And so you're not maybe you're promoting a product, but you're inviting them to come back to the site to browse around. Like I mentioned people purchasing off of those transactional updates, which is really powerful just to say that like, you don't always have to be talking about a promotion to get someone to come back to the site. Offering customer service is another great example of just another way they can engage with you in between purchases. But I think to come back to like, when's the right time to go back to kind of talking about purchases is like, we have a lot of really great automations set up in place. So if, win back, for example, someone hasn't made a purchase in 30 days and they haven't engaged, like let's re-engage them with something. Maybe, we want to, we know that people who have oily skin and they purchase this product every 30 days, like on that day 30, like let's send them a message then. So you're kind of using a lot of your data to really tell you when that is the right time to send the next message, which will keep the unsubscribe rate lower, but also like make it feel like, okay, like they really understand my experience and things like that. I mentioned the wine insiders example earlier in the panel. That's another great way to do it too. So if you sell like a product that's consumable or needs to be replenished, maybe you want to use two-way conversations to say like, hey, Amber, like how are things going? Do you need to, replenish? Let me know if you want a reminder in 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So these are the messages that subscribers are comfortable engaging with, but it's also like you're not being so aggressive with that sale ask.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels so useful, right? Especially with that example, consumables. Is that what you call the concierge feature? Did I get that right?
So we have Attentive Concierge is another feature. Yeah, so that's actually where we have an actual person replying to our messages. I can talk more about that later, but that's another great feature. Similar to two-way messages, but that's actually like a real human replying to those. And in 3 minutes or less. I came from a company called Tone, which actually built that product out. So I'm also really passionate about that as well.
Awesome. Well, I was thinking concierge because, someone asking, do you need to top up on your wine basically by SMS? That's, you're being waited on. They're asking all the right questions in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Great. I think I've got one other question, again, about two-way conversations, which we have already spoken a little bit about, but more kind of towards the idea of integrating with platforms like Gorgeous, so help desk platforms. The question in its entirety is, I'm also interested in two-way conversations and how unknown answers would impact CX using Gorgeous.
It's a great question. So I think the question probably is if they don't respond with a keyword that would probably trigger something that's like an unknown response. Yeah, that's something that we've put into the product. So they have really good language recognition to understand that. So the way that this works is there's two ways we can set it up. It's text 1, 2, 3, 4, for example, for XYZ, so if it's text 1 for customer service, 2 for loyalty, 3 for, whatever the case is. Or we can also do keywords specifically. So we could say like text loyalty to learn more about the loyalty program, text, product to learn more about whatever. So you can kind of do these to create some easier ways to engage with that. For whatever reason, if the customer wants to actually speak with customer service, like we definitely make that really easy to do. And it's just like an easy message that will engage the CS team. But the other cool thing about this, and it's taking me this question maybe in a little bit of a different direction, but is that the actual conversations are going to start living in Gorgias too. And so all this data that you're collecting, like the CS agent is going to actually know a lot of these data points about a customer. So as I've been engaging into a conversation, maybe through this automated messaging feature, I can reference some of that data as well. So it creates more connectivity, and the agent can really fast and quickly pull up the information that will, better solve that problem that the customer might have.
Cool. So one thing that I kind of wanted to know, I read a piece that was talking a bit more about Attentive's greatest challenges when it comes to text marketing. Obviously, number 2, very relevant today, was developing personalized content that resonates with our target audience. Number 1 was increasing subscriber signups. So I thought we'd just leave a little bit of time to talk about how to tackle that as a challenge and maybe why it's such a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as I mentioned, list growth is like the absolute most foundational part of, having a successful text program. You need to have, folks continuously coming in. And so we have over 20 plus sign up units. I think it's over 24 at this point with Attentive. And so we have a lot of different, really creative and fun use cases to opt into a text program. Obviously, the most, successful that we see all of our clients starting with is that 2-tap on-site mobile, first pop-up that collects the email and SMS. And we see conversion rates, really healthy in that space. But like additionally, we're seeing a lot of our customers leveraging their email channel to promote text. So they're sending out those emails, hey, sign up for text to receive XYZ incentive, if that is transactional updates, if it's conversations, customer service, discounts, whatever it is. So that's a great way to get people in. You can also be really smart with how you segment that. So like if we know that you're not opted into the SMS list, maybe post-purchase, we're asking, hey, Amber, sign up for SMS to receive order updates. So that's a great way to get some more folks in. But I would tell you more a kind of larger scale list growth tools that we see a lot of folks using too is like Instagram stories, that tap to opt-in flow. It goes right back to our 2-tap opt-in, super easy and fun. If you're running like paid social ads, if you have a really good social following, those are great. Additionally, looking at just more creative ways like on-site, like banners, or if you have like a product insert, if you sell like a replenishable product, maybe you're putting a piece of paper in that says text this number in to, receive XYZ benefit. And so like you can be really creative with how you do this. Obviously, you're going to get the most from having those on-site tools, but depending on your business and your use case, like these other features make it really easy for you to actually start kind of getting more outside the box and capturing subscribers that might have not been opted in at first to that SMS program.
Awesome. So really raising awareness, through multiple touch points along the whole customer journey, making it really nice and value led. So they know, I like what you said about, opt in because you're going to get delivery updates, leading with the value that they're getting out of, signing up to SMS.
I think I would say on that too, actually, there's another thing that came to mind for me was also like testing is really important in these growth tools. Like a lot of folks kind of get set in this mindset that, it's like, I put the tools up, I'm not getting the performance that I want. How can I improve? And so we always say like, set up an A/B test if you're curious on like within a page, like an instant page load versus like an exit intent on your pop-up, for example. Mm-hmm. These are things that like really are easy to set up, but actually can start to tell you like, how are folks engaging with that sign up unit? If exit intent is winning, like let's go all in on exit intent as a way to grab more subscribers. And then also the messaging that's on that too. So maybe the exit intent is like, hey, sign up today for SMS and receive X bonus loyalty points, or, whatever that case is. Like, there's so much that can be tested and really thought of that I think just those are like the 2% improvements that I like to talk about that can make a really big difference in how many people are getting into that SMS program.
Absolutely, and you've got to give customers that real kind of incentive. Fab. I've got one other question. Do you have any tips on how my customers might not view my SMS messages as spam?
So that's a great question. And I think a lot of how you frame the opt-in, I think, is how you get folks to understand what the value of an SMS program is. So like I talk about day one expectations a lot, is like when someone opts into an SMS program, like the first few things you should be saying is like, obviously from a compliance standpoint, like you have everything set up. That's going to help you to be recognizable. It's a branded experience, all those things that we make really easy in the Attentive platform. But like the things that I would say additionally is like, let them know that this is a two-way channel. If you offer customer service, if you offer whatever the incentives is, like let them know. So it's like, we're not going to spam you with promotions. That's the first thing I would say, is kind of like breaking down the wall a little bit. You're creating more of a friend at the brand experience. So that can go a long way in helping them to see, okay, like I get this benefit from being on this channel. I can use it for multiple ways. They're sending me helpful things like order updates, etc. Additionally, like, and I think the onus is also on the marketer of like, what are you sending them? Are you sending them helpful things? Are the promotions timely? Are you using data to personalize that experience? Because a lot of like we ran a really interesting study at Attentive of like, what are the messaging types that people want to receive the most? Transactional is number one, and then some of the other like product updates, like promoting like things like loyalty programs, promotional things as well. So like it really can like start to unpack, like be intentional with what you're sending. And if you're personalizing it, if you're getting the right people opted in, I think they're naturally going to find it, beneficial to be on this channel. But also like we make opting out really easy as well. So if someone doesn't want to be on that channel, they're gonna get off the journey when it's right for them. So I think it's just a little bit of how you set up the channel and then how you think about it. And in working with a vendor like Attentive, that's going to make compliance, really a paramount feature of that, is how you start to think about this as not being a spam channel, but really like a relationship building channel at the end of the day.
Awesome. Thanks, Blake. Well, I think we're going to wrap up there. Thank you so much for all of your insights there. And thank you everyone who's, contributed in the chat. It's been fantastic to see so many people join, so many questions be asked. For a bit more information on Attentive, you can head back to our booths, which have, all the right links to the website and right kind of contacts. And also head back to the main stage now, where we'll be diving into our Loyalty Lines Hall of Fame.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andrew. I want to add one more thing. If you didn't get to ask a question, or if you have any follow-up as well, I'm super active on LinkedIn. So feel free to shoot me a message if it's SMS related, e-com related. Happy to be a resource for everyone. But Amber, thanks for the time. This is great. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of Loyalty Connect, everyone, and see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.